Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 16 and compare it against the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, between both these devices, what I will definitely tell you is you can't really go wrong with either one. Both these devices are very good. They have a lot of capability and a lot of quality. And if you're going to go through and pick up a device, I genuinely do think both these options are very, very good phones, right? They're very good devices when it comes down to it. But if you're wanting the better one, I definitely would say you're going to have to wait till the end of this video to find that out for me. But if you want to pick up either one of these phones for the cheapest prices I find, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these devices, the number one thing you're going to have to keep in mind here is that between both, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus did come out a little bit earlier this year. So in the front of the S24 Plus, you're basically getting a 6.7-inch dynamic LTPO AMOLED display. It's a 1440p panel, and it really is a really good-looking, sharp panel. I love that phone screen a lot. And if you're going to go ahead and pick up a phone, it really is a really good option. So I do think that in and of itself is a very, very big thing to keep in mind. With something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, it's on 120Hz. It looks very nice. And like I said before, if you're going to go through and pick up a device, it really is one of the better options out there. With the iPhone 16, this is an iPhone that has a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this type of panel is interesting, right? It's a good looking panel. I like that panel a lot. It looks very, very good. But if you're going to go through and look at that type of device, a very, very big thing to keep in mind here is that with that type of phone panel, you're really going to be getting a device that's going to be, 60 Hertz. It's not the best looking display of all time. And I feel like there could be some better options out there for some people. So I do think that is one of those things to kind of keep in mind there. But beyond both, they both are good panels, but the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus is significantly better in almost every single way. Both phones have flat sides to them, which look great. There's not really too much to complain about there from that side. And they're also giving you basically frosted glass backs on the backside. So that also right there is a very nice thing to have. Like if you're going to go through and pick up one of these types of phones, it is nice to have a phone that's going to feel as premium as both of these devices basically do. On top of those things, both of these phones are basically going to be giving you the same type of capability, in some ways, but keep in mind with the S24 Plus, that is more of a flagship type of device when it kind of comes down to it. That is going to be a phone that's essentially going to be giving you, things like reverse wireless charging. It's going to be giving you like a triple camera setup on the backside. It's definitely more of a flagship type of device. I think that's kind of what's going to go through and what's going to end up happening here. But I would still probably say at the end of the day, a phone like the iPhone 16 does still feel pretty good in the hand too. And I like that both of them have USB Type-C ports and everything like that. But it is quite clear to me that the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus might be the better one from an exterior perspective. From a price tag perspective, this is something that's also kind of interesting here. So you have to remember with something like the iPhone 16, this is a phone right now that costs $829. So with a device like that, you would probably imagine that type of panel is probably going to, it's going to be good here and there for a lot of people in that type of, price tag. But with something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, this is a phone that basically costs close to like $1,000. But now this phone has gone down and depreciated so much, it's less than like $600 in a lot of places. That is a very interesting thing that's kind of going on within this type of phone. So when you're looking at a device like this, in some ways, it might make a little bit more sense here and there to go through and buy a device, like a Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, because it is going to be like significantly cheaper to go and buy a device like that rather than buying something like an iPhone 16. So from that side on the exterior, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. Now from the camera side, both phones are giving you, great camera setups for today's day and age. With the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, this is a triple camera setup, wide telephoto ultra-wide lens. The iPhone 15 is giving you a dual camera setup, so a 48 megapixel wide and then a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera. Now both of these phones can do 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which is always nice to have. I love having 4K at 60 on the front and the back, but the Galaxy S24 Plus can do 8K capability on the back. This is by far one of the biggest advantages for getting a phone like this. Like going through and buying something like a Galaxy S24 Plus that's going to be giving you that type of capability, I think is really, really big. With the iPhone 16, that is still like a pretty good looking phone, right? It's still a phone that's going to be able to handle really good videos, really good shots. And I do think this in and of itself, it's a nice thing, right? It has a lot of capability from that side. And I do think if you're going to go through and like pick up one of these types of phones, that's a device that has a lot of good stuff going for it. So, that phone gets a lot of credit from me. But the only thing with something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus is the fact that type of phone, like the camera quality is great. Sometimes in social media applications it's not the best, but I still think for a lot of people it's still like a very, very good quality camera for the most part. But on top of that, what I would probably say is that with something like the iPhone 16, this camera is also very good, and you're getting that dedicated camera button on the side as well, which can be a nice feature for a lot of people too. So that is just one of those things to keep in mind, but I would probably say otherwise beyond that, something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus is probably the better camera when it comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. Now on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is probably the overall performance of something with the software longevity. So when it comes down to both of these phones, right, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus and the iPhone 16 are probably going to be lasting roughly around the same exact amount of time. So no matter which phone you get, you're probably going to be getting a phone on both that is probably going to be lasting for a long duration of time. So before, we used to be in situations where we would go and look at some iPhones and stuff and Androids and imagine that those phones are going to last longer than these ones, but that doesn't really seem to be the case anymore. Like genuinely, all these phones are probably going to be lasting for a long duration of time. So those things probably mean less and less now than they used to. So I think that right there is a very big thing to keep in mind. Like if you're wanting the longer lasting phone, it really, both of these are going to be pretty long lasting when it kind of comes down to it. So that right there is a pretty big thing to keep in mind. From a battery life perspective, this is also something that's kind of interesting. The Galaxy S24 Plus is giving you a 4900 mAh battery, where the iPhone 16 is giving you a 3561 mAh battery. So if you are wanting the phone that's going to be lasting for a longer period of time here, once again, it's pretty much going to be, from a battery life perspective, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus. That phone has the higher likelihood of lasting a longer period of time. So that right there is another very big thing to keep in mind there too. On top of that, when it comes down to the performance, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus is giving you that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chipset inside with 12GB of RAM, where the iPhone 16 is giving you that Apple A18 chipset inside of it with 8GB of RAM. So definitely from that side, if you are wanting a phone that's going to be giving you the overall better performance here, it definitely is going to be something like the Samsung Galaxy, S24 Plus in some ways, just because of that, 120 Hz display and different things like that. But with something like the iPhone 16, this is also going to be one of those phones that's going to be performing very, very well. That chipset has been aging very, very well. I think it's been a very good, strong performing chipset as well. So I do think that right there is a very big thing to keep in mind there. But with something like the Galaxy S24 Plus, just having the capability of installing your own applications and things, I think is a very nice thing to have inside of this device too. So I do think that right there is a very, very big thing to keep in mind there when it kind of comes down to it. So overall, to kind of sum it up, what I definitely will tell you is that with both of these phones, they're very good devices. I like them a lot. I do think the overall better flagship though is the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus. I do think that is the phone that I look at as probably being a significantly better phone in some ways. I feel like that is the flagship that I look at as probably being the better one. But with something like the iPhone 16, I feel like this type of phone is also still a very, very good device. I think it's a very good phone. I just kind of think it's overpriced kind of for what you're getting. That's kind of the main issue that I have with that type of phone. Otherwise, I do think something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus is probably the better flagship here. And that is kind of the one I'd recommend the everyday average person to go and pick up, because that one is kind of it's more the flagship when it kind of comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.